morning. Happy Wednesday. It is May 17th at 6:30. Thanks for staying with us. I'm Caitlin Heck here with Wanya Reese and meteorologist Alex Forbes.
Oh man, it seems like it's going to be a great Wednesday, but it does seem like we also have a storm chance today also, Alex.
That's right. The Storm Prediction Center has come in with a level 1 storm risk today across central Georgia. You wouldn't be able to tell it looking live down in Perry. A lot of low clouds. Obviously saw some rainfall in Houston County through the overnight hours. Temperatures are in the 60s this morning. 65 in Warner Robins, 66 in Macon and in Eastman. But the radar much quieter this morning than what we saw last night. And take a look at this as we back this up about 12 hours there. The storm's coming through Macon. I was driving north on 75 yesterday and you could just see the wall of black clouds. I drove right into it and it was like the sun was out and then the sun was not, and my headlights turned on very quickly. But we saw some of the rain last through the overnight hours before it all faded away. Some showers still back into Mississippi this morning, a couple up the Appalachian Mountains, and then some off the Gulf of Mexico. But today, a level 1 storm risk for all of us here in central Georgia. The threat of damaging winds and large hail will be around, and that's going to be through most of the late afternoon and into the evening hours tonight, even into the night. We'll take a look at that and talk about the temperatures today. 85. What are we going to do between now and then? All those answers come your way here in just a few moments.
Thank you, Alex. Right now, some people in northern Monroe County are facing water supply problems. The county issued a boil water advisory Monday morning.
The county commission says Bibb County officials told them about a pump problem that cut off water to Monroe's North Water system.
Brushing your teeth, washing your hair. You don't want to wash your body in that. You don't want to, have your animals drink that. Nothing. You don't want it to touch you, really, because you never know what's in it.
So Elizabeth Golden lives in High Falls and says that she gets a notice by email every few months advising her to boil her water. Bibb County is working on repairing the pumps, but in the meantime, customers should boil their water and limit their water use. County spokesman Richard Dumas says Monroe County is making the transition to rely on Forsyth as their main water source.
We have been on the City of Forsyth system now for 24 hours using our fire truck as a pumper to pressurize the system.
Dumas says the county expects the advisory to end this afternoon or tomorrow.
Well, fights happen in every jail, but we often hear complaints about fights in the Bibb County Jail and about conditions, staffing, and safety measures there. It's
a topic that we've covered before, especially since the 2021 stabbing death of Deputy Christopher Knight. So are things getting better? Major Eric Woodford says a number of assaults in the jail have actually dropped. He says there were 8 assaults in March of this year and 11 in March of last year. 13 WMAZ, we actually obtained reports of those fights that happened in March, Caitlin.
And they describe inmates left with bloody noses and busted hands to even inmates cut and stabbed with shanks. Major Woodford says jailers try to do shakedowns every day, checking for weapons. But Sonia Bonner, whose son is in the jail, says more needs to be done to protect those inmates.
At least every day to week, we try to do a shakedown somewhere in this jail. We will find a shank or an offensive weapon somewhere in this jail on a daily basis.
I don't think they're looking what they need to look at. I don't think they're doing what they need to do as officers, as guards. I don't think, because if they was doing their job, it wouldn't be so many stabbings, so many fights in jail.
Woodford says the problem with fights in the jail comes down to inmates and their behavior. He says all cases are passed from their assigned investigators to a prosecutor to take to court. As for staffing, Woodford says they're better staffed than 3 years ago, but still 60 jailers short.
6:34. Folks who live in Macon, Bibb County could soon have a little extra money if commissioners approve the mayor's budget proposal. Mayor Lester Miller plans to roll back the millage rate by 5 mils, keeping with the requirements of the penny sales tax that Bibb County voters approved in 2021. The millage rate is $1 for every $1,000 of your home's value, up to 40%. The rollback means the owner of a $100,000 home should pay about $200 less in property taxes this year. The mayor says they're able to put money back in people's pockets while providing government services.
Economic development, we increased by $2 million over the last 3 years because we realize the more money we can invest into creating good jobs and bringing good quality companies into our community and funding good initiatives like that, it's going to grow the tax base, it's going to grow people, it's going to grow opportunities.
As usual, public safety dominated the budget with $87 million of the more than $200 million budget going towards that. Mayor Miller says there's even more public safety initiatives that have already been paid for. That includes a security camera system for the downtown area. Commissioners approved a couple of months ago.
Well, if you own a home or business in Houston County, new tax assessments are headed your way, and they'll probably show a higher property value. The county tax office says they mailed out statements for those new values last Thursday. Chief Appraiser James Moore says property values countywide rose about 15% this year. He says that's about the same as last year. People have until June 26 to appeal the new values. Property owners won't know whether their tax bills will go up, down, or stay the same until sometime this summer. That's when county commissioners will vote on the 2024 millage rate. The new values are based on looking at real estate sales in the county over the past year.
Get ready to spend more money when it comes to your power bill. I know it's not the news you want to hear. The Georgia Public Service Commission unanimously voted to allow Georgia Power to raise its rates 12% starting next month. That means the average bill is going to jump about $16 up to $147.50. The hike is one of several planned as the company works to recoup money it spent on higher fuel costs. There could be another jump later on this year as Georgia Power brings a third nuclear reactor online. 6:36. Well, the pandemic caused a lot of institutions to change the way that they do things, including colleges. It changed everything from housing all the way down to admissions, Caitlin.
And now Georgia's public colleges are extending one of those changes. Our morning reporter TJ Anthony is live with us to give us the details. Good morning, TJ.
Good morning. The University System of Georgia announced that they're actually extending waiving testing requirements for most of their schools, a decision which impacts some Central Georgia schools and potential students as well. Now, many of them won't have to take tests like the ACT or SAT.
It was stressful because at the time I was living in a shelter.
Markia Rawls says she wishes she could have opted out of taking the ACT to get into college. Rawls says grades are a better indicator on whether a student will be successful in school.
That's more long-term, like how a student is doing in school, what they're constantly giving to the school as opposed to like a test.
Rawls is now heading back to college after taking a break, and her mom also gets the opportunity to apply to some schools within the University System of Georgia without worrying about the ACT or SAT.
We're going test optional for 23 of the 26 institutions in the system.
Stephen Schulteis, the vice president of enrollment at Middle Georgia State University, says in the past, USG waived test score requirements for fall 2022 admissions. Now it's extended for all USG schools except Georgia Tech, the University of Georgia, and Georgia College and State University. The other 23 schools will look at another number when it comes to admissions.
But going strictly on GPA.
With USG's announcement comes opportunities for high schoolers participating in dual enrollment.
We have a pathway that dual enrolled students do not have to submit an SAT or ACT test score to get into the dual enrolled program.
He says students are already benefiting.
Approximately 60 students that we've been able to offer admission to now because of this change.
Now, test scores will be needed for students that want to apply for the Zell Miller scholarships. Caitlin, take it away.
Thank you so much, TJ. Now, 2 public universities in Central Georgia are among 4 in the state that will see tuition increases next year. The Board of Regents voted to keep tuition and fees almost flat at most of the system's 26 schools around the state. The exemptions include increases for Middle Georgia State University in Cochran and in Macon, and Georgia College and State University in Milledgeville. Average in-state tuition will run about $6,300 a year next year.
From hugs first thing in the morning to science experiments in class. This week's My Teacher's Talk winner is an ace for her second graders. The big surprise coming up next.
And as food disparities continue to impact people nationwide, food forests are becoming a bigger trend. Find out what that means and what makes Atlanta different from other cities with the same program. But first, the time is now 6:39 here on this beautiful Wednesday morning. It seems like a day where you might just want to hang out inside because the weather just seems a little wishy-washy, Alex.
Yeah, pretty much all week.
It's going to be one of those days where it could be storming 2 miles away from you and it's bright and sunny where you are, but you can still hear the thunder, which means you can still be struck by lightning. Something to be mindful of as we head into the day ahead. A level 1 storm risk in place. There's a live look over downtown. The sun has officially risen. Now it's 66 here in Macon. Winds out of the northwest at about 6 miles an hour. We are seeing some low clouds in a few spots this morning, like down near Warner Robins and Perry. 65 the temperature there in Houston County, 67 in Hawkinsville, 68 in Dublin, 66 in Irwinton, 63 waking up in Monroe County, and 67 over in Butler. For the most part, everybody is in the mid to upper 60s across central Georgia this morning. But the radar much quieter than it was last night here in central Georgia. Saw the storms in Macon right around 7, 8 o'clock, and then a steady rainfall through the overnight hours in places like Houston County, Bleckley County, and on into Lawrence County. County. Seeing a few showers this morning out into Mississippi, but you can just see as a big picture across the southeast, relatively unsettled, and that unsettled weather is going to give way to a level 1 storm risk in place today for all of central Georgia. The threat of damaging winds and the potential maybe for some large hail and certainly the heavy rainfall, and we're going to be looking at that activity getting going during the afternoon hours. So here we go on Future View now at the noon hour, looking at partly cloudy skies, temperatures into the 80s relatively quickly, but then by 3-4 o'clock we're going to start to get the scattered shower activity to develop. Don't pay attention to the exact location of these showers, but just know that heavier showers and even storms will be possible. Then once we get into the evening tonight, you'll actually see a better chance of that over central Georgia. So I'm thinking the majority of our activity, if we were to see any warnings today, it's going to come after the 5 o'clock hour and then last past sunset on into the evening tonight. A steady rain sticking around in parts of the area through the overnight hours before we get into tomorrow, and we're really going to struggle to get out of the 60s in a few spots, 70s elsewhere. It's going to be one of those days where it's mostly cloudy, drizzly, even a steady rain at times, although I don't think we're going to see much in the way of thunderstorm activity tomorrow here in central Georgia. On into Friday we go, waking up with low clouds once again across the area, and then the sun breaks free. Only a small chance of rain for Friday at right around 20%. On into Saturday, that's going to be up to about 30%. The rain chance, that is a weak disturbance trying to move its way through the Peach State. It is going to have luck in doing so, but then by Sunday, the center of the energy is going to be further to our south and east, which is going to drop the rain chance from 30% on Saturday down to 20% on Sunday. But a mix of sun, clouds, and even a few storms on both days. So if you have outdoor plans, just have a backup in case you do get one of those storms over your area. And if you do, it shouldn't last too terribly long. But I really think the big story this week is going to be the big drop in temperatures we've got coming tomorrow. Struggling to get out of the 60s in many spots. I've got 72 as a high in Macon and 77 on Friday. As for today, that level 1 storm threat in place with a high temperature of 85. Sunrise was just a few minutes ago at 6:35, and into the next 7 days. We're going to get through this rain tomorrow and then into the weekend, right back to the summertime pattern with a high of 85 both Saturday and Sunday, and then low 80s for Monday and Tuesday.